president of In-N-Out Burger says she is leaving California. Lindsay Snyder speaking about the move on a podcast, saying it's not easy doing business or raising family in California, so she is moving to Tennessee.
For nearly 8 decades, In-N-Out Burger has stood as proof that a California business could grow, thrive, and stay rooted. No franchising, no Wall Street pressure, no compromise. Now, even this dynasty feels compelled to explain itself. When the chief executive of one of California's most loyal brands speaks publicly about life beyond the state's borders, it is no longer just a personal story. It becomes a referendum on California's economic identity. If In-N-Out feels the need to clarify its future, what does that say about the climate facing every other business in the Golden State? A brand built on California values. In-N-Out Burger began in 1948 as a modest drive-through stand on Francisquito Avenue in Baldwin Park, California. Harry and Esther Snyder built the business on a simple but radical idea: quality over scale. Fresh ingredients, a limited menu, no shortcuts. At a time when fast food was still experimental, their approach created something rare: trust. Customers knew what they were getting, and they knew it would not change. That consistency became the brand's foundation. Through decades of growth, In-N-Out never franchised, never went public, and never surrendered control. Ownership passed from the founders to their son, Rich Snyder, and later to their granddaughter, Lindsay Snyder. The company's red and yellow signage became more than advertising. It became cultural shorthand for California itself. More than restaurants, a cultural anchor. In-N-Out's presence in California is not merely economic, it is emotional. The original Baldwin Park location still stands as a landmark. Across the state, the sight of an In-N-Out signals familiarity, routine, and shared experience. For generations, families have woven the brand into everyday life: post-game meals, road trips, late-night stops. These rituals turned a fast food chain into something closer to a tradition. That emotional connection is reinforced by how the company treats its workers. In-N-Out pays above minimum wage, invests heavily in training, and maintains unusually high employee satisfaction for the industry. With 281 of its 418 locations in California, the company supports thousands of jobs and anchors local economies across the state, which is why any suggestion of departure strikes a nerve. Why the conversation changed? For years, In-N-Out appeared immune to the pressures that pushed other businesses away from California. But the environment has changed. Housing costs have surged, with median home prices exceeding $800,000. Operating costs from utilities to insurance continue to climb. Labor regulations have evolved rapidly, including a $20 per hour minimum wage for fast food workers. These changes do not target In-N-Out specifically, they affect every employer. But for a company deeply committed to employee pay and local investment, the impact is magnified. The question shifted from, can In-N-Out survive in California, to how much risk can any one state realistically carry? The CEO breaks her silence. In July 2025, Lindsay Snyder addressed the growing speculation head-on. Her message was deliberate and measured. In-N-Out is not moving its corporate headquarters out of California. The heart of the company remains in Baldwin Park. At the same time, she acknowledged personal and operational realities. Snyder confirmed that the company is opening an Eastern Territory office in Franklin, Tennessee, and that she has chosen to raise her family there. She drew a clear boundary between personal decisions and corporate strategy. In-N-Out, she emphasized, is not abandoning California. But the need to say so spoke volumes. The Tennessee expansion explained, "The Franklin, Tennessee project is not symbolic. It is substantial. The company is investing approximately $126 million in a new Eastern Territory office scheduled to open in late 2026. The facility is designed to support growing operations across the Southeast and is expected to create around 200 jobs. This expansion aligns with In-N-Out's broader growth strategy. As the brand moves into new states, proximity matters for logistics, oversight, and workforce management. From a business perspective, the move is rational. From a public perception standpoint, it was explosive. How headlines took over the narrative. As news of the Tennessee office and Snyder's relocation spread, nuance evaporated. Major outlets ran stories suggesting In-N-Out was leaving California or relocating its headquarters. Commentary blurred personal choices with corporate intent. Talk shows and editorials framed the story as yet another iconic brand driven out by high taxes, strict regulations, and cost-of-living pressures. Within days, the narrative hardened. California, critics argued, had finally pushed even its most loyal businesses to the edge. What the headlines missed. Lost in the noise was a crucial fact. In-N-Out's operational footprint in California remains overwhelmingly dominant. The company continues to operate hundreds of restaurants in the state. Its supply chains, training infrastructure, and cultural identity remain anchored in California. Supporters argue that the Tennessee expansion reflects adaptation, not abandonment. Other companies have taken similar paths, diversifying operations while maintaining deep roots at home. Tesla's headquarters move to Texas did not erase its engineering presence in California. The pattern is not departure, but hedging. Still, perception matters, and perception has consequences. Why manufacturing and restaurants feel this first? Food service and manufacturing businesses experience cost pressure before many other sectors. Labor represents a larger share of expenses. Energy usage is constant. Compliance affects daily operations, not abstract planning. When costs rise incrementally, companies adjust. When they rise simultaneously, companies restructure. For In-N-Out, expansion outside California reduces exposure without severing ties. It provides flexibility in a landscape where long-term certainty is increasingly rare. California's broader economic dilemma. The In-N-Out conversation reflects a deeper challenge facing California. The state remains one of the world's largest and most innovative economies. It attracts talent, capital, and ideas at a global scale. But it is also one of the most expensive places to operate. Policymakers face a persistent tension: how to maintain strong labor protections, environmental leadership, and social investment without making the cost of participation prohibitive. For global corporations, diversification is easy. For family-owned companies rooted in tradition, it is fraught. Why this moment feels different? In-N-Out is not just another company. It represents continuity, stability, a promise that some things in California endure. When even that symbol becomes part of a relocation debate, it signals a shift in how businesses perceive risk. Not panic, not collapse, but reassessment. What comes next? In-N-Out has made its position clear. California remains home. Yet the company's actions, like those of many others, reflect a changing calculus. Expansion elsewhere is no longer optional. It is prudent. For California, the challenge is not stopping companies from growing beyond its borders. It is ensuring they still see value in staying deeply invested within them. Conclusion: identity at a crossroads. This is not a story about burgers. It is a story about what California asks of the businesses that define it and what those businesses need in return. In-N-Out has not left, but the fact that it had to explain why it stayed speaks to a broader unease. California has reinvented itself many times before. The question now is whether it can do so again without losing the companies that helped shape its identity.